sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. I was reading some posts by a couple of boneheads on LinkedIn today who are talking about what does qualified mean? What is a qualified prospect? Is it one? They have all these things like BANT and all these other things. And, they've got a reason and they've got the money and they're the decision maker, which is all fine, right? But what nobody ever talks about is what are they qualified to do? What are they qualified to get, right? Doesn't mean they're qualified necessarily. Well, let's explain. So let me explain what I'm talking about. So our job as salespeople is I want you to kind of take the word. I want you to drop the word convince. You got nothing to do with convincing. I want you to even take the idea of sell out of your thoughts about selling, funny enough. Your job is to disqualify those people that aren't ready for your solution yet, right? They're not ready for it yet. Walker, what the hell does that mean? Well, that means, y'all know this, right? The first thing they got to do is agree to our rules of engagement, how we're going to run this sales call. What is the outcome? What are we going to be deciding yes or no to? We need to know that before the sales call even starts. If somebody fights with you or doesn't want to have an agreement with you about what we should end up saying yes or no to at the end of the call, they're not qualified. They're just jerking your freaking chain. But let's pretend they agree to, ideal outcome. They've agreed to buy. At the end of your, tell you not buy. They've agreed to tell you yes or no to signing a contract and writing you a check. Ideal outcome, right? I know in y'all's business it takes longer. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it takes longer because you don't know how to do it faster. Right? Our job is to disqualify people. And so if their buying program, their buying ID doesn't match up with ours, they're disqualified. Well, let's pretend it does match up with ours. They're willing to tell us yes or no at the end of the call. What we're doing by that is we're not saying you got to tell us yes. You got to make a decision. Don't push for a yes because yes is often the wrong answer and you'll sound like an asshat, right? Yes is often the wrong answer. So we don't want to push for that. But we can ask for a decision, a yes or a no, because that's who we're supposed to be calling on, decision makers. We agree upon the rules of the game. Awesome. Step number 2, do they admit a problem? If they don't admit a problem, they're not qualified. But let's pretend they do admit a problem. We're able to dig in and we figure out, is there really a personal, compelling reason why they need to fix that problem? Somewhere. Right? Do they have pain? And then when we quantify the pain, what's it costing them? How much is the pain costing them? Because there's always a cost to pain. Maybe it's not money. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's emotion. Maybe it's waste of resources, right? But ultimately, there's a cost for pain, cost of missing an opportunity, or maybe it's a direct cost. So we know what the cost is. Then we move on to the budget step to figure out, the budget test to figure out if it's costing them this much, how much would they be ready, willing, and able to spend to make that pain go away? Now, this has nothing to do with the price of our product or our service. This is how much they'd be ready, willing, and able to spend to make that pain go away. And even if it's IBM or Cisco or Microsoft or somebody like that, and they've got a gazillion trillion dollars, if they're not ready, willing, and able to spend it to solve that problem, you got nothing. They're not qualified. Then the last piece is their decision-making process. Does that match with what we're doing? Most Luddites would say this would be, who's the decision maker? Well, that's bullshit. That's a terrible question. Some people are like, oh, it might offend somebody. I'm like, no, it's just a stupid question. You could be talking to the CEO and they're the decision maker and there's your answer, but they may want to bring in, the CFO. They may want to bring in somebody from that department. They may want input from somebody else, right? The question is, who else besides you needs to be a part of this decision, right? But there are 4 or 5 questions for decision. Number 1 is, when were you hoping to make a decision? Why then? When were you hoping to have this thing fixed? Why then? Who else besides you needs to be a part of the decision, needs to have input on this? What would you need to see or hear from me to be able to make a decision? And then who else are you talking to? If they have somebody saying, how are you going to pick? And you could dig into that, right? This is all this is to see, are they qualified? Here's what I tried to bring up in the first place. Are they qualified to receive your pricing, proposal, solution, whatever that is? Are they qualified to receive it? Because not everybody deserves a proposal. If they don't have a problem, if they do, but it's not pain, or they won't admit that it's pain, or they've got no budget to fix it, or it's unreasonable, right? Or the decision-making process, they're not going to make a decision for 6 months. Or it doesn't really matter if they fix it or not. You don't have to give them your proposal. That's all you're doing. You're trying quite frankly to disqualify them. You're trying to disqualify them, not qualify them. You're putting way too much optimism in it. You're being way too optimistic to qualify somebody. They need to qualify themselves. Your job is to try and disqualify them. Your value, what's the value to you in putting out proposals, giving proposals to people who don't buy from you? The value is approximately 0, right? And actually more than that, depending upon how long it takes you to put together a proposal. Some people, it takes forever. Some people, it doesn't take much time. But anybody that you put a proposal out to that doesn't do anything, that doesn't buy anything, they're just going to say your price was too high, right? If they don't need it, your price is too high, right? If they do need it, price doesn't matter. Now, don't take me too seriously there, but it depends upon how bad they need it fixed. Figure out, how can you disqualify somebody who's not ready for you yet? They're not ready for your solution. They either don't have a problem, the problem isn't pain, they don't have the money or have an unrealistic budget, or we don't have the proper decision-making process. We don't have all that, those pieces, if we don't know them ourselves, they're not verified by us, boom. Sounds like it's not the right time. Why don't we talk later on when things are better? I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales School. Shoot straight with people. You don't have to give everybody a proposal. If you want help with this, you or your company is struggling with this, pick up the phone and call me. 803-917-2817. Shoot me an email, walker@walkermckay.com, or hit me up on one of the socials. Be happy to have a conversation, see if we can help you.
Thanks for listening to No BS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.